Baseball Hell is a production of Monkey Butt Enterprises. No animals were harmed in the making of this podcast. How you doing, Davis?
Hello, Tommy the K. Hello, everybody. Yes,
We've been apart for a whole week.
I wrote you a couple letters, sent some cards. No, nothing. I got nothing
No
back from you.
reply. Well, you know how snail mail is these days.
I sent it third class, so I'm sure that you should have gotten it by now. But that's another story.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Tommy.
yeah. Well, here we are, Davis, and we're celebrating episode number 2. And who would have
Yeah, we're up to
thought,
two.
who would have ever thought we would have gone this
Right.
far?
Certainly not us.
No. But our producer must have believed in
Yes.
us because he's brought us a celebration cake.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, it's really not a cake. It's a couple of Hostess cuckoos from the vending
Oh,
machine.
cuckoos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
They're,
Wait a minute. I see that now. I see that
yeah.
not only is there cuckoos, but there's also some Green River pop.
Green River and cuckoos to celebrate episode number 2. Life
Oh
is
my
good.
goodness. Well, thanks to the producer, I didn't know they were going to go all out on
Hmm.
this one, but that's quite a celebration, I must say.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah. Now, Davis, you were a
What's the deal
traveling
again?
man this week. I understand you and your lovely wife made a stop in New Orleans.
Yes, went to New Orleans, Louisiana, and they have a big festival down there, French Quarter Festival, and we spent a few days down there. And it's a free festival. I recommend it to everyone. It's every April, second week of every April, and they have a lot of local bands. So you got a lot of jazz, blues, Creole, Zydeco, Cajun, a lot of music, rock and roll, country, everything. It's just, and it's all free, and it's on the Mississippi River, and it's just a wonderful,
Wow.
wonderful festival. I recommend it to everyone.
Now, it wasn't Mardi Gras, but was it what? How would you describe the atmosphere? Was it ruckus?
It's the Holy Trinity of fun, Tommy. It's the Holy Trinity of fun, which is booze, music, and food,
Yeah,
and it's plentiful, and they will they will they will just put a parade on for any occasion. You know, you got your ingrown toenail pulled out, they'll throw a parade for you.
that's nice. Did any?
Yeah.
Did you see anybody like vomiting in the street, passing out?
No, it wasn't
Any of that? None of that?
nothing like
No.
that.
So it's not like Sixth
No.
Street here in
You
Austin, where that happens Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night.
No, it wasn't like that. But then again, Tommy the K, I must tell you that I'm not one of those. I'm not a late nighter. I'm an early. You know, the parades in the morning, the music's all day, and you know by 7 o'clock, I'm watching a rerun of Jeopardy at the hotel. So
That's good. Any interesting sights, people you ran into, or
well, there was one. I was watching one concert and one stage, and they called out, and they were like, "We love the city, and we love the. Hey, we want to throw a special for veterans. And how many veterans out there?" And people raise their hand. How many first responders? Well, I noticed that there was a guy who was about 15 feet to my right, and for some reason he had a stuffed raccoon, and and it looked like a real raccoon, except of course it wasn't moving; it was stuffed. But when they asked for the first responders to raise their hand, he raised his hand, but it was also the hand that had the stuffed raccoon in it, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
yes, yes.
But other than that, no, other than that, everybody was pretty cool. Everybody's cool, listening to music and
Well,
having a
that's
lot of
good. I'm
fun.
glad you had a good time, and I'm glad you had safe travels,
And
and there you
you
are.
had, you were, let me ask you something.
Yes,
You had an interesting week there. You were right in the middle of the eclipse there on Monday, weren't you?
that's correct, Davis. We were in the midst of totality. You know what totality is, Davis?
That means whole, everything.
That's correct.
It's all.
Yes, and in this
Yeah.
case, it was.
I believe. I took a guess at that,
Well,
but
you're right. You guessed right. And in this case, it
Okay.
means all of the sun was going to be blocked out for approximately 4 minutes, and it was pretty
By
interesting.
all of the moon.
Now, Dave, you know that a lot of people think that an eclipse, especially a total eclipse, is a sign of the apocalypse.
Oh, I never thought that, but
Yeah,
some people actually think that.
yeah, they have tinfoil hats, but that's what they think. And they think,
Well, they,
yeah, it's the end of the world. Oh my, it's dark in the middle of the day, and I wasn't much of a believer in that, but here I was. My wife and I, we went to the park because we wanted to be out amongst the people and see
yes,
this
of course.
total eclipse, and
Right.
everyone's looking up, and sure enough, total coverage of the sun. I mean, it looked like it was about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and people started, getting a little scared, and I kind of had a funny feeling. I looked over and I swear, I saw a guy. It looked like Jesus was walking
Oh,
through the crowd, tapping people on the shoulder, having a very short interaction with them, and moving on to the next. And I thought, by God, this is the rapture. When he got
oh my
closer and
God.
closer,
You
I'm getting scared.
right.
Turned out it wasn't Jesus at all. It was just some damn dirty hippie. It looked a little bit like Jim Morrison. He was trying to bum money off
Oh,
people in the crowd. So, all right. Well,
that's not.
Davis, last Sunday we
Yeah,
left
we're here to talk
off.
about
Yeah,
baseball,
we
aren't we?
are. We are somewhat. Last Sunday we left off. It was in the middle of the games or toward the end of the games. I think the outcome of each was inevitable. The Cardinals were playing the Marlins, trying to complete a sweep, but they lost 10-3 to the then winless Marlins. Therefore, the Cardinals head into this week of coverage at 5-5 in a dignified last place in the National League Central.
Yes,
Now, the Cubs, they were beating up on those trolley Dodgers at Wrigley Field. I think they ended up winning that game 8-1, right?
they did.
By
They
the
ended up
time.
winning. It was a rain delay, I think, when we were talking, but they
Yeah.
ended up winning the game. Held on to that game.
Yeah, both games had significant rain delays, like 2 hour plus rain delays. Now, one note about that
Yeah,
Cub game, I went back. That was round one of Imanaga versus Otani.
yeah. And I think Managa struck him out, I
He
believe,
did.
if I'm
Uh,
not mistaken.
Their first encounter, he struck him out. Otani did have two hits in that game, but I don't know if he got either one of those off Imanaga. And they certainly didn't. He certainly didn't touch him for a home run because Imanaga did not give up a run.
No, he didn't. As a matter of fact, and just to forward ahead, he pitched again last night. Gave up one run, but it was unearned.
It was
So he
unearned.
still has not given up a run.
Yep, I
He
saw
still
that.
has not given up a run. But yeah, that was a good battle, and the Cubs ended up winning 2 out of 3, I believe, in
They
that
took
series,
two
didn't
out of
they?
three from those mean, awful Dodgers. Yep. So the Cubs headed into this week of coverage at 6-3. Now they were at home against the Padres. Mike Schilte's team, ex-Cardinal manager. So
Yes.
they call him the Turtle.
Now, why did they call him that?
He kind of looks like he's kind of got that apple-shaped body with stick legs, and maybe he kind of just looks a little bit like a turtle shell in his upper body.
Or maybe he's just really slow and he lives to 450 years old.
Anyway,
The turtle. Go ahead.
Cubs playing at home in the friendly confines against
Yes.
San Diego. Now the Cubs go in and they just jump all over Padre pitching. They've got an 8-0 lead. By the way, they scored 8 runs against the Dodgers the previous day on Sunday. Here they are on Monday with a commanding 8-0 lead. They got their heads held high, their chests sticking out, and they're saying, West Coast, Schmest Coast. These guys aren't so tough. But then all of a sudden, there was a little squeak in a wheel. What happened?
Well, what happened was their pitching. They've been using their bullpen. They can't stretch out their starters. The starters are not stretched out long
Assad
enough.
went 5.
Assad went 5, but he went 5, and he actually was up to like 100 pitches,
Okay. Yeah.
and he gave up a couple of runners, and then they said, "Okay, you're out," and they put in this
Kuas. Yeah,
Quas.
I was going to ask you now, who is this? Who's this Kuas fella? Because I saw his name in another box score later. We'll get to that, but not impressive numbers.
they picked him up last year in a trade with Kansas City, and they traded one of their young outfielders, uh, Nelson Velasquez, and they traded him. Uh, he's done okay with Kansas City, but Klaus was supposed to come in and help their bullpen last year, and he didn't do a bad job. He did pretty well. He was one of the sixth, seventh inning setup guys, and he didn't do too badly. He had an ERA in mid like 3 point, low, and it wasn't bad. He was okay sometimes, but he was wild. He came in, and by the way, they sent him down after that.
They did.
After that debacle, he's been sent
But
down, and
I
they brought
saw
up Keegan Thompson.
they must have brought him back up because I saw his name in a box score later in the week. But maybe we'll
Yeah, well, and it wasn't like immediately. They sent him down like a few days later,
okay.
and but he is down and working on his. He said working on his four seam fastball, I guess. But you know, you don't even know what things are anymore. They're just like it used to be fastball, curveball,
Yeah,
slider.
yeah. Well, his
You know,
line here,
now it's
he went a third of an inning, 4 hits, 4 runs, all earned. Yeah, and Assad had given up
yeah, he
two in a
just
very respectable start, 5 innings, but now it's 8-6, and Alzolay couldn't hold him in the ninth,
the
and
problem.
he
Yeah,
went.
and Gosling gave up the runs. They started to settle down. They weren't giving up any more runs, and then Gosling gave up the homer. But Kwas, when he came in, they it was like batting practice. They swung at the first pitch. I think they scored I don't know how many runs within like 5 pitches or something,
Oh,
if I remember
that's
right.
brutal.
It was brutal, and I thought, oh my God, they're going to lose this
But
game.
Council couldn't get the hint that maybe he doesn't have his stuff today. And anyway, long story
Yeah,
short, painful loss. I think it ended up 9-8, right?
it was a very painful loss when you're up
Yeah, those are
8 to
horrible.
nothing.
Oh, those are horrible. Now, so
But they came back and they won the next day.
yeah, Cubs
So
exit that game at 6-4, but they shake it off. They come back and they win 5-1 the next day. They knocked off Joe Musgrove, and I was watching the highlights from that game. Boy, Musgrove looked untouchable for the first couple of innings. His slider was dropping like 3 feet. It was just rolling off the table. Wow. And then all of a sudden, they just got to him. I think Gomes hit a home run. Padres
yeah,
end up this game with only 4 hits. Who was it? Brown started 4 and 2/3, 3 hits, no runs. Back to your point earlier, didn't stretch it out, so put a lot of pressure on the bullpen, but they really came through.
and the thing is that shows that you're a pretty good team if you can come back from an 8 to nothing. You're up 8 to nothing and you lose. They looked a little whipped. I think they had a long game, long game, and then they had to fly
That's
into
right.
and
Yeah,
play the next night,
yeah, because they were
and
they
they looked a
were
little bit whipped.
they were playing the Dodgers, but it wasn't in LA. It was in Wrigley. So yeah, you had a 2 hour, 45 minute rain delay, and then they hop on a train. They hop on a plane out to San Diego and had to play the next day. Yeah, there was no day off on Monday. This was yeah. So I can see where
So
that
the Cubs,
happens.
but yeah, but you can't lose an 8 to nothing lead in the sixth
It's
inning too.
terrible. But like, hey, give them credit. They shook it off. Hey, they always, hey, it's only one game out of 162,
One
right?
game.
It's not like Little League where you go out, when I would pitch a game and give up 4 home runs and get shelled and not get to play again for a week. And, I'd cry about it for 3 to 4 nights. So
You
then,
you put you when you pitched in on our team, you gave it everything you had. I have to say, you threw a lot of pitches.
I did. I just didn't have that much to give. I
They
did. I
just
did.
kept you in there.
Yeah, yeah, I did. That threw some. I was thinking about that the other day because, how these guys in the major leagues. Well, his pitch count's up to 90. We better get him out of there. And I was thinking back. I pitched games. It was 6 innings or 7 innings. 7 innings in Corey League, 6 innings in Little League. I bet I threw 150 pitches, and I'm not exaggerating.
You no that you but
Now only 50 were for
and
strikes, but
you were throwing pretty hard, and you were a lefty, and you were
yeah,
throwing
yeah,
pretty hard, and you had your delivery. You had a
yeah.
I think your delivery was, if I remember right, was It was a labor delivery. You were throwing fastballs. I mean, you were
That's all.
just
I didn't know if somebody would have taught me. They didn't have the what do they call
no.
it? The
There was
oak.
no coaches there.
Well, they didn't know anything. I mean, I did have an awesome coach in Little League, but what they didn't know back then, nobody knew how to throw a changeup. They didn't know how to do that circle change. Now you
Right.
hold it with your middle two fingers. You hold it with your middle finger and your ring finger, and you put your index finger and your thumb almost together on the side of the ball. And you can throw that pitch with that same high velocity arm motion, but it drops
Right.
about 15 to 20% of the speed off of it. And you can still have a reasonable chance to control it. And you'll get some good movement. If somebody would have taught me that, I might only given up, one or two home runs a game instead of, three, four.
Let's go to the Cardinals there. What did the Cardinals do
Well, but
this week?
before we do that, the Cubs did play Game 3, but it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't what the Cubs wanted, right? I think they got beat 10-2.
Yeah, that was
This
just like
one,
they're ready to get out of town.
I think they were the 2-2 going into the bottom of the fourth. However, and your old buddy Kyle Hendricks was pitching, and he just ran out of steam. He ended up with a line that included 5 innings, 9 hits, 7 runs, all earned, 2 home runs. Kyle's ERA is 12.08 at this point, Dave. Are you
Yeah,
getting concerned about Mr. Hendricks?
I'm definitely concerned about Mr. Hendricks.
Is he going to be the Adam Wainwright of the Cubs?
He signed pretty quickly. Like, yeah, they're going to give me some more money. Yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead.
Where's the pen?
But
Yeah.
yeah, he could be. Adam Wainwright, of course, your reference there, of course, is that he came back for one more season and he just, it was pretty awful.
It was. It reminded
Uh,
me of, remember that movie in the 70s, A Bridge Too Far? It was kind of
oh,
a
yeah.
season too far
Yeah.
because that was brutal.
Uh,
And, Wainwright didn't win that 200th game until, well, about the last week of the season, right? He somehow sucked
yeah.
it up and pulled a win out of his behind. So the Cubs, okay, they get out of San Diego, drop 2 out of 3, and they've got a record of 7-5. The Cardinals, they stayed at home against the Phillies. Phillies came into town at 4-5. Game 1, final score 4-3 Phillies. Cardinals in this game, I recall they basically didn't show up until the ninth inning. It was 3-1, bottom of the ninth. Cardinals woke up,
Oh,
scored 2 runs, tied it. Mason Wynn, rookie shortstop, Mason Wynn, Davis. This guy's looking good. He looks like the real deal.
he looks good. He's hitting and he's fielding and he's doing everything he's been their best player, I would say.
Him and probably Brendan Donovan, and Wynn
Donovan,
sharper
yeah.
on defense. This guy can run. Wynn can run. He's got a rocket arm. He reminds people of Shawan Dunston. Remember that guy, Dave?
Oh my goodness, I do remember Schwan Dunston,
Yeah,
shortstop of the Cubs from the '80s, and yeah,
he
I
made a few
do, I
errors.
do. Dunston made a few errors. He had a gun for an arm, and he was decent. He was the number one pick in the draft, I believe,
He was picked
one year.
ahead of Doc Gooden.
Yeah, that's right. I think he did. Yeah,
I forgot about
and Doc
that.
Gooden, I think probably. I'm sure Doc Gooden struck him out many times too.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's
If
tough.
he didn't have Mark Grace at first base digging out every ball, uh, Dunston would have had a lot more errors. But I think in his first year, he had like 30 some errors at short,
Yeah,
something,
well,
30, 40 errors.
he was only eclipsed, pardon my pun, by the Cardinals' Gary Templeton. Templeton had 40 plus a couple of years, and he had Keith Hernandez over there on first base. How many errors?
Another good defensive first baseman.
How many errors would Templeton have had if he didn't have Keith Hernandez over there digging out for him? Probably 60.
So the Cardinals, so they got Wynn at short. He's done.
They dropped his first game. It was just a ho hum offensive performance until the ninth. Wynn got a big hit. Rookie Ivan Herrera, another good looking rookie on the Cardinals, hit his second home run. It was a solo shot. That was the 1 run they had going into the ninth. Now, this guy Herrera,
Yes.
Davis, looks good,
Yes.
and he's pretty much splitting time behind the plate with Contreras. However, Contreras is hitting the ball, so Contreras is DHing, and Herrera will catch, or sometimes Herrera is DHing, and Contreras is catching. So those guys both are showing really strong bats. Contreras still looks like a quality player. You can question the contract and how big of a commitment the Cardinals had to make to him, but he is giving it everything he's got, and he has been what he was advertised to be, a hit first catcher, an offense catcher, right? He's not Molina, and the Cardinals,
No.
can't complain about this guy.
But Herrera's a better catcher. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know if I'm ready to say that, unfortunately, because Herrera, I don't know if they've thrown anybody out stealing yet this year. They have been getting stolen on. And Contreras has a great arm. I'm
Hmm.
not sure what is going on here, whether the Cardinal pitchers are not holding them on well, or whether they are Contreras or Herrera just hasn't been showing the kind of release time that they need. But anyway, yeah, they're not throwing anybody out. But this game, yeah, it's over. They actually tie it. They go into the 10th. The ghost runners on. The Cardinals made a somewhat controversial decision with one out in the 10th, runner on second, and they intentionally walked Harper. So this is a pick your poison, right? Because when you're in extra innings nowadays, especially when you're the home team, you don't want to get 2 runs behind. You're hoping to hold them to the 1, and you can either hold serve
Right.
or score the 2. They walk Harper, trying to hope for the double play. Bohm hits a double down the line. They score 2. Cardinals actually had a chance to come back, and this is part of the woes that we'll get into. Arenado comes up with the tying runs on in the bottom of the 10th, strikes out for the 3rd time to end the game.
Oh
He has
boy.
not been able to deliver the big hit for the most part this year.
He's still providing great defense
He's playing good
at third
defense.
base.
In fact, I'd say he's probably playing better defense than he played at this time last year. He did have some struggles struggles for him last year, and he sharpened it for the second half, and he's continued to be sharp this year. So you can't get on him
I've
about that.
seen him and Goldschmidt both making some still up there defensively, and
Yes.
you have to have that. By the way, I wanted to ask you real quick about when the Cubs had Bryant, uh, Chris Bryant, and Anthony Rizzo. They kind of marketed them as a team, like, and they called them Brizzo.
Oh,
Did the Cardinals ever do that with Arenado and Goldschmidt? Like they were Goldenado.
no, they haven't. But, I like
I
it. I'll call Mo tonight and let him know what you think.
Okay. And so how did the rest of the week go for the
So
Cardinals?
game 2, the Cardinals come back. They win this one 3-0. They beat Zach Wheeler. Sonny Gray's Cardinal debut, by the way.
Mm.
Yeah, much anticipated. 5 innings, 5 hits, no runs.
By the way, I wanted to ask you about that too. Now you got Sonny Gray and Newt Bar back.
Yes. Well, I'll get to Newt
I
Bar
mean,
just a bit later. Newt Bar was not available for this series, so they had to take the Phillies on without Newt.
Newt Bar also sounds like something you get like you go to at an ice cream parlor and like I'll have a Newt Bar with sprinkles.
Okay, so third game of this series, Cardinals they come in there even. It's the rubber game, Dave, as they call it. Final score 4-3 Phillies. Lance Lynn with the start. 5 innings, 1 hit from Big Lance. That's all he gave up. 2 runs, none of
Wow.
them earned. 6 strikeouts, 4 walks.
I think
Lance,
anything you get out of Lance Lynn is good.
I think you're right. And Lance has a 2.63 ERA at this point. So good for him. Palante was the GOAT. He comes in, records 0 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, both earned, and he walks out with a 9.00 ERA at that point. Bright spot for the Cardinals was pitcher Zach Thompson. He's been relegated to the bullpen now that Sonny Gray is off the injured list. He threw 3 1/3 innings, 4 hits, no runs. That's good. He's been hit and miss as a starter, mostly miss, and they throw him in the bullpen, and he took to it well, and looks like he could have something to offer. This was by the way, a horrible game for rookie Victor Scott. This guy is the center fielder, speedster, stole 94 bases in minors last year, but he has not been hitting even a little bit for the Cardinals. He was in this game batting .070. Really tough game for him. First inning, hard shot hit over his head in center. He tracks it. It's in a rain too, pouring rain. Bounces off his glove. He drops it. They end up scoring 2 runs. That was the 2 unearned runs that they got off of Lynn. He dropped a diving attempt, another ball, sinking liner at him. He tracked it and dove, had it in his glove, and it fell out. He was roughly 0 for his last 20 at the plate late in the game. He gets an infield hit. He runs it out, Davis. And what does he do? He turns the wrong way in his excitement, and they tag him out while he's walking back to first. The umpire rang him up.
You can't. In other words, you can't when you get a base hit and you have to go to your right and stay
You're,
off the main
yeah. You
field.
you can
If you
actually
go to
turn
your
left.
left,
You can turn
it's like
left if you're still outside the base path. You're making no attempt to move. But he was a little bit inside that line. He was very excited that he had finally gotten a hit after 7 games of wearing the collar, and
still running. He runs
yes,
a
he
lot.
turned a little
Yeah.
bit to the left, and boy, rough game for
Oh,
Mr. Scott. So
oh,
that
well,
is that wraps up part one of our coverage. We're at midweek at this point. The Cards hit the road for Arizona. The Cubs scooting from San Diego to Seattle. Both teams had a day off on Thursday. But before we get to the second half of the week, Dave,
yeah.
we actually have some listener mail.
Oh my goodness, this is good. I mean,
Yeah.
this is only our second show, and people are already sending something in.
Well, not people, but person. We did get one
Oh,
piece
one
of viewer
person.
mail. Yeah. And
Okay. And
this
was this third class or was it?
I have
Oh,
I have
wow.
not even opened it up yet because I wanted this to be a surprise for us. But I can
Well, it looks,
see
yeah, that's the best way to do it because it kind of gives you kind of like, like what to expect,
a live
because, and then we're not editing anything here, folks.
no.
We are just going to let you call in. Um by the way, third caller, we have some tickets for you, third caller. And we're going to open the lines now. But anyway, Tom, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I hadn't opened it as I said. There's a couple things that stand out about this though as I look at it. Um, there's no stamp on the outside of this envelope.
Oh my goodness.
However, up in you remember how to address an envelope, Dave? Remember they taught us this in grade school? You put the return address up in the upper left-hand corner and you put the destination address sort of in the middle, right?
Yes.
Yes. And see a
But
lot of
and
kids
yeah, your return address. Is there a return address, you said?
there was a return address on there. And I'm
Okay,
I'm not going to, I'm going to protect this person's privacy and not read it on the
of
air.
course.
But I
We want
what
more people to
there
call to write.
a lot of kids these days don't know how to address a letter because they just
Hmm.
text or they pay, or even young people, they pay a bill only online, right? And they don't know how to do it. I've seen where they do that man on the street thing and they grab people at random and they show them a letter and they say, "Hey, would you fill this out?" And they have no clue. Um,
Right.
but anyway, yeah, as I said, there's no stamp on this, but oddly enough, up in the right-hand corner, there is a stamp-sized picture of Ed McMahon's face, right where
Oh
the
my
postage
goodness.
normally would be. And somehow,
Ed McMahon, who was the sidekick for Johnny Carson for many
yes,
years. Yes.
yes, and somehow that was good enough. The Postmaster General said, "Hey, I'll give him credit for that." The
Oh,
return
nice.
address, another interesting thing about this. The return address, this
But it
is
was a hand drawn
no,
picture of Ed McMahon.
it was a little picture fairly high
Oh,
resolution.
an actual picture of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, an
Oh,
actual
okay.
picture of Ed
Oh,
McMahon's
that's
face.
nice.
Yeah,
That's nice of the USPS to say, "Hey, we'll honor this,"
they honored it. Yeah,
because he was an incredible talent. Um,
very versatile. Him and
yeah,
him and Foster Brooks from that area, very versatile uh, talents.
the drunk comedian. Yes.
They could do a lot of different things. Anyway,
But what's the letter say?
okay, well, but before that, I'm going to tell you that this letter is from the town of Uranus, Missouri. It's spelled just like,
Say,
I don't even
say
know if
that
I want to
again.
say it, Uranus. Like what I used to call the planet when I was a kid. I didn't know any better. I go, hey, Dad, the eighth planet from the sun is Uranus. But
Uranus. Is that
yes, that's
Missouri?
correct. It's a small town in Missouri. And I said, this can't be for real. And I actually looked it up on this thing called the internet. Dave, I think you've heard of it. And it seems that this town
Yeah.
has taken advantage of this. They kind of know they're cute. They kind of got a tongue in cheek, taking advantage of the mispronunciation of their town's name. In fact, they've got a slogan. You ready for this? It's pretty sweet in Uranus.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah. And of course, in the town of Uranus, they have a fudge factory. Uh huh. The Uranus Fudge Factory and General Store. And
Oh my
apparently,
goodness.
at this store, you can buy stickers, bumper stickers for your car. And
Stickers?
yeah, yeah. It's kind of like I guess it's kind of like a Cracker Barrel or a Bucky's. We have
You're
Bucky's
saying that
in
you
Texas.
can get Uranus stickers.
And like I said, it's like a Stuckey's or something. You can go in there, get some fudge,
Studies.
and get a souvenir. And if you chose, you can get a souvenir
My
that's a bumper
goodness.
sticker. And one of them it had a picture of sort of like the '50s Leave It to Beaver dad, in his suit and tie, and it's got a little speech
Oh,
balloon above him, and it says "Fudge yeah." And
well, that's nice.
even nicer yet, the other sticker that I saw, it says the best fudge comes from Uranus.
Wow.
Yeah. Mr. Producer just informed me that we've lost 90% of our audience over the age of 10.
Actually, we would gain.
We've
I
gained
thought we would gain
we gained a lot of
from a bunch of 10
8-year-olds.
year olds.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let me open this
Oh.
up, Dave, because like I said, I'm gonna I'm gonna open this up. Okay. All right. Here I've opened the letter. I'm looking at this. Okay, this is from he put his email handle or maybe his Twitter handle on here as well. It's Cardinals Homer 6. 6,
Hmm.
by the way, Davis was Stan Musial's number. Did you know that?
Stan the Man,
Stan the
one
man.
of the great baseball Cardinals players
Hmm.
of all time.
Hmm. So Cardinals Homer 6 says, Tommy the K, congratulations on the launch of the podcast. It was apparent that you have a vast knowledge of the Cardinals. He goes on
Oh,
to say, I find your opinions to be insightful and entertaining. On the other hand, that Cub guy is a real jerk.
oh,
Ooh, I guess I should have screened this
wow.
before I read it on the air.
You didn't read, yeah, you just opened this.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry you had to hear that.
Anything else anything
No,
else
that's.
on there? Or?
I think he felt like he had
Did
said
he
it.
sign this thing?
No. Uh-uh. Uh-uh. Well, anyway,
Wow. That's the only letter we've received?
that's the only one. Otherwise, I would read more.
You can't have 100% people like you. If that's the only letter received, that's obviously I'm at 0%. But
Cubs head out to Seattle at 7-5. Game number one. Final
mm,
score 4-2 Mariners. Cubs dropped to 7-6. Well, the Mariners jumped on Wicks. Yeah, they're up 4-0 early after only 4 innings. This was kind of similar to the Cardinal game against the Phillies, where the offense just really wasn't there consistently through the game. 4 hits total for the Cubs. However, first baseman Michael Bush hit his third home run and a double. What do you think of this guy?
you sure you didn't get any other letters?
There's nothing else in my fanny pack. Sorry.
Bush has been a pleasant surprise. It was what I think they were hoping for last year with when Matt Mervis came up in the minors. But Bush was one of the top prospects in baseball, and the Cubs picked him up in a deal. And he's so far he's performed. He's hitting, he's fielding, he's doing everything that they wanted from him, and he's solidified a first base. So they haven't had to move Bellinger down there. They could keep Bellinger in
Mm-hmm.
the outfield, and Bush has been good, and he keeps hitting, and I think he's gaining confidence. So
How
that's good.
good is Bellinger in center field? Is he like a plus fielder in center, or is he?
Yeah, he's a plus fielder center. He's actually a plus fielder at first too. So he's a good guy to have around. Bellinger actually is back to hitting under 200 again, but I expect
Oh,
that to change.
then you wonder, is he going back to the 2022 Bellinger now that he got his contract?
Yeah, he's good enough in the field that
Yeah,
he can,
no, he's going to be
you
all
know,
right. I think he's still he's gonna hit a bunch of bright
he'll be
spot
all
for
right.
the
Yeah,
Cubs in this game, although they didn't do much offensively. Smiley and Thompson combined for 4 innings of relief with 0 runs, but that's good.
yeah. They might have to move him into the rotation depending on how, you know. Unfortunately, he has to come in when others are struggling, or he has to come in like the fourth or fifth inning.
He's the long man.
He's the long man, and now Keegan Thompson could be another long man too. He's one of those guys who's been stretched out as starter back, so they can get him as a 2 inning guy,
Uh-huh.
2 or 3 inning guy, and
That's so important in today's game. It used to be kind of a position that nobody wanted. It was an insult to be the long man, and now it's very valuable.
very valuable because nobody's going 6 innings, especially early in the season.
Yeah.
You know,
I see only the elite pitchers seem to be able to handle the third time through the batting lineup. They get to the fifth or the sixth inning and things change drastically.
yeah, I don't know what happened. What happened to pitching? What happened to pitchers that this that you can't go 9 innings or 8 innings?
I blame it on the science, the video, slow motion analysis of everything. They've got statistics. They've just got everybody figured out. And I think there's so little headroom to get these hitters out that once they reach any amount of fatigue at all, fifth, sixth inning, it turns into hits.
Well, what happens to I think what they need to do is to go down to farmland and just pick up some of these farmers and like they used to do. And these farmers were great pitchers. They would just go like they'd put them out there like, okay, Walter Johnson, get out there and throw 15 innings.
Yeah,
And then, by the way, we're going to need you in the second game of the doubleheader too.
exactly.
And he would just go like, well, let me put my John Deere away, and then I'll go out there and throw. And then in the meantime, I got to go out there and spread some seed, and then I'll be back and bale some hay, and I'll be back for the second game. That's all you need. Put me down for 14 tonight.
So game two of this
Yeah,
series now. They're playing once again. They're playing the Mariners in Seattle.
yeah. Game two in Seattle.
Final score four to
You
one
sure you didn't get any
Cubs.
other letters?
I'll, I'll,
He didn't get any other letters that like saying that it was okay or anything like that. Okay. Anyway, so game two,
4-1
last night,
Cubs.
and
Imanaga, the story of this game.
Imanaga and also Bush hits a homer, and Imanaga does not give up an earned run, although they hit him around a little bit, and he actually walked a couple guys. His first couple walks, I think, of the year, and that's one thing about the guy. He doesn't walk anybody either. He strikes out a lot of people, doesn't walk anybody, but he gives up some deep flies, and he's been protected a little bit.
Hmm.
Um,
I have him at 2-0. He went 5 1/3 this game, 5 hits, 1 run, as you said, unearned, and his ERA for the year is 0.00.
but he got saved again. He got saved by Christopher Morel at third base, who struggled, but defensively. But he made some really good plays with guys on second and third last night, and less than I think nobody out and one out, and he made two really good plays and saved a couple of runs.
Hmm.
So
Suzuki hit his third home run in this game.
Suzuki and Bush have been the have been carrying, I think, the team
Mm-hmm.
offensively.
Good relief pitching once again. Leiter, Almonte, Neris. Is it Norris? I can't read my own chicken scratch here. And
Neris,
Alzolay
yeah,
combined for 3 2/3 of shutout innings to secure the
yeah,
victory for
they did.
Mr. Imanaga.
Mausolé is always, you never know, though. You always put somebody on before you get somebody out.
Yeah,
So,
he's like Helsley.
yeah, for the Cardinals.
Speaking of the Cardinals,
Yeah,
they went out to the desert, Arizona. Game one, it was a wild one. 9-6 Cardinals is the final. Cards jump out on Fott early. They get 6 runs. Arenado finally got his first home run of the year here in the 14th game of the season. Hit a 3-run home run. That was nice to see him show some power. He just really has been struggling so far.
it's good.
Also, this was the return of Lars Nootbaar. In only his second at bat since coming back, Lars strokes a 2-run homer, his first one of the year. And as that ball was sailing out of the park, Davis, I
Yes.
heard my inner monologue switched to the voice of Howard Cosell and said, I told you about Lars Nootbaar, the venerable one. So Fott gives up 6 runs early, but he settles down and eats 6 innings. Do you like that term, Dave? He's an innings eater.
He eats innings.
Yeah. That's what they said about, well, that's why the Cardinals got Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. Yeah, their ERAs are like 6, but they eat innings.
Well, Lance Lynn looks like he's eating more than innings. He's a large guy.
Yeah. And do you appreciate having an innings eater on your team, even if he's got an ERA of
You have to
6?
have an innings eater, somebody who's just going to go in there and your starter is getting bounced a little bit, and
Yeah, but here's the problem. The innings eater is that starter who gives up 6 runs in 4 innings. Is that really a plus?
yeah, innings eater is not. I don't think it's a good thing
Hmm.
unless they are effective. But they don't call an effective pitcher an innings eater. They just call them top line starter.
So this is something that Mo is trying to sell to Cardinal Nation.
Mo, of course, is the general manager of
Yes,
the Cardinals.
John Mozeliak. Yeah, he got booed on opening day. They announced him. He comes out, and the Cardinal fans are all booing him. Honestly, I think it was a little bit embarrassing. They shouldn't do that. This guy brought him a lot of. He's brought him a lot of victories.
Personally, I don't think anybody should be booing anybody at a ballpark, at a baseball game, or any sporting event at all. I don't understand the booing part, but to actually you see, you look at these people and they're going, "Bah!" These are adults and they're watching some of the best. They couldn't do what these people are doing on the field, and they are just, and they just have this rage. They're like, boo, boo, and you're thinking, really? It is still a game, and you're going to go home, and you still have your life. And as disappointing as this is, do you really feel like you should go to an event and just and it could be any event, sporting event or any kind of event, and just scream out, yell out, obscenities and boo and what is the point of this? I don't get the point of this. I don't get the point of it. Why are you booing people who are so much better at the sport that you paid to see? I don't think I've ever gotten to a game and just went boo. I
No.
mean, first of all, it's a stupid word anyway. I don't understand the booing. Stop it, people. Go to the game, watch it. Yeah, you're disappointed that your team didn't win.
Yeah.
But you have to yell at them and scream at them or yell, like personal things at them.
If you want to talk about booing, I can give you an example when someone did deserve to get booed at a baseball game. And I remember, I believe it was in Boston a couple of years ago. I remember somebody hit a home run and there was a young guy out there, maybe in his early 20s, with his girlfriend, and the ball's coming straight at them, and they're sitting there in those seats where you actually have a little table in front of you and you got food, and he turns away in fear, and his girlfriend gets pegged by the ball. Now he deserved to get booed.
Okay, okay, that was a fan. Other fans should boo other fans, and I think people who start booing should get booed themselves. Boo! And they're booing. Because they're booing other people.
Yeah.
Boo! And then you're booing them. And you're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm booing you. Why? Because you're booing them. Nobody should be booing anyone. Booing.
Okay.
It, it,
It's
it's
been
like,
said. There it is. It's been said here on Baseball Hell. No more
no,
booing.
stop the booing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't finish this game. So Cardinals get up 6-0. Everything's great. Matz is cruising along right through 4 innings. Top of the fifth, I believe there's one out. A little swinging bunt hit back to Matz. He totally whiffs. Somehow fails to pick this ball up off the ground, and it's an error on Matz. Okay, but it's 6-0. You know, all hell breaks loose at that point. The next four contacts off of mats are 100-mile-an-hour plus barrels, leads to 3 unearned runs. They bring Gallegos in there. He just throws gas on the fire, gives up a 3-run homer to Suarez. Now all of a sudden it's tied 6-6. Here we go again,
Uh,
right? It's 2023 all over again. Matt's 4 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, only 1 earned because it was his own error that cost 3 unearned runs. He has a 1.80 ERA in spite of himself. Once again, Matt's not able to get through 5, but Cardinals came back. They showed a little bit of resolve. They score 3 more runs before the end of this game, and they win at 9-6, a wild one. Now, game two out in Arizona last night, frustration for the offense once again. Final 4-2, Diamondbacks. Just no performance, no RISP. You know what that is, Davis? RISP.
run. I'm sorry. Are you still talking about the Cardinals?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. What is rest? It's runs,
Runners in scoring
runs,
position. So there was lots of
runners is
RISP,
good.
but no hits with RISP, you see.
All right. And what does
And
HIT stand for?
hits. Isn't that high intense interval training? Yeah. You do a lot of
Go
that,
ahead.
don't you? No, the offensive performance of the Cardinals was worthy of your bathroom visit. They just didn't do much. The only good thing I can say about Mason Wynn, another good game. This guy trying to be rookie of the year, Davis. 349 batting average, 821 ops, and looking real sharp with the glove at shortstop. Now, on the other hand, rookie Victor Scott's batting 091 with a 315 ops. So not a whole lot of productivity there.
Do you remember if you couldn't hit 200, it was, they called it the Mario Mendoza never hit. I think he couldn't hit 200. And they called it the Mendoza line, which
Yes.
was, yeah. But what is it if you can't hit 100? Could be the Victor Scott line. He's in danger of that.
And of course runs well, but this guy's got to get some time in AAA. He's never batted in AAA. He's a AA player from last year, and
To be fair, they brought him up a little early.
yeah. But again, out of necessity, injuries, right? Newt Barr's down and Carlson's down. The Cardinals literally didn't have a center fielder. So that gets us up to today. Now I'm watching the Cardinals right now. It's not looking good. If you want to go back to the toilet again, this probably would be a good time. Cards are down 5-0. Nothing cooking on offense whatsoever. Bottom of the seventh, 5-0. What are the Cubs doing? They both had 3-10 starts today.
Assad was pitching well, and again he goes into the sixth and he gives up a 2-run homer. But the Cubs had a 3-0 lead, so it's 3-2. And now the bullpen has held them, but they're in the eighth inning. Neris is on their bullpen guy. They picked up from Houston as a free agent, but he's on the mound and he's struggling a bit. It's a nail biter here in the bottom of the eighth. 3-2 Cubs. Council's looks like he wants to get on the phone, but all of a sudden he just starts staring at Kyle Hendricks, and they're looking at each other. They're just staring at each other, and they're like, "Are you? Who are you? You look exactly like me." Now they're staring at each other, and they're doing one of those things where they got the hand going, like the right hand comes up, and it's like in circles. It's they're doing that mirror thing where the hands going in circles, and they're both doing the same thing at the same time.
Shields and Yarnell used to do stuff like that. Do you remember them? The famous mimes. They had a show for a while in the 70s. Remember that?
Yeah.
Wrapping up, thoughts on the Cubs after this week. Let's have the spiel.
I think they come home.
They're going to play 3 in Arizona and then no day off, but they come back and they're going to play 4 at home against the Marlins. Kind of a weird schedule.
But yeah, that sounds like hopefully they can load up on Florida, and hopefully Florida's not doing so well.
And when you think about the Cubs at this point, they're 8-6, 8-6. If they win today, 9-6, they're doing pretty good. What's good? What's good so far, Dave?
14-0, I would think would be really good. But I'll take 8-6. I'll take 8-6. You know, 10-9 wins with that 8-0 lead would have been better. But I got one more. Instead of talking about the Cubs, I got one more observation before we go.
Okay.
I is there to me there's more spitting on the field than it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Every time I look, what are these people spitting? They're putting these seeds and stuff in their mouth.
They're spitting the shells from the sunflower seed.
But why? I mean, why is this happening? Is everybody in baseball eating seeds? Who has to clean this up? I remember some people telling me, like, I want to have my ashes spread at home plate. I'm such a big fan. You know what people do at home plate? They spit and they kick dirt
And adjust their cup
right over your ashes.
right over your
Not a
ash.
not a good place, folks.
Yeah, yeah. And you're laying there and you're like, oh shit, this wasn't such a good idea. I just
Yeah,
I just had a goober chucked on my head. What used to be my head. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it at that point.
that's right. Tommy the K, we run out of time. I think we run out of time, but I do. I next week I have a very good story for you next week
Oh, good, good.
about you and I and baseball. But we were at, this is a story about the 1985 World Series with the
Oh,
Kansas
yeah.
City Royals and
Okay.
Cardinals.
Yeah, let's
And
hold
you and
on to
I
that.
were and we were in college, and we're going to bring this up, folks, next time. And I think you'll like it. But in the meantime, where could people hear us?
Oh, people can hear us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, among others. Those are your big dogs, Davis.
What would they look up? Baseball Hell?
Look up Baseball Hell, a Cubs Cardinals podcast. And look us up, give us a listen, follow, like, subscribe, all that.
Do we need to spell that for people?
HE
Baseball, because I think
double hockey
everybody.
sticks. Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tommy the K. I'm looking forward to some letters. Oh my goodness! I just checked in my mailbox and I got a letter. Uh, yeah, but you know what? I'll save that for next week.
Okay.
Are we going to have any guests, by the way,
We are,
in
yeah.
the future?
I'm glad you brought that up, Davis, because we do have big plans. It's going to expand beyond listener mail. We're going to have guests, and of course, we've got our contests. It's like today we had the big ticket giveaway. Unfortunately, we're out of time.
Well, we only got two callers. When I just
Mm.
looked at the
Oh,
producer.
okay.
Do we only got so we didn't get the third caller. But, where are you heading, Tom? Yeah.
I'm going to watch the Game of the Universe tonight on ESPN. It's the Dodgers hosting the Padres.
The game of the universe.
That's
Yeah.
what John Rooney always calls it. Cardinals radio broadcast,
Well,
ESPN.
we love baseball, and we know that baseball is the greatest game. And not only is it the greatest game, but speaking of the universe, if there is life on any other planet, ladies and
Hmm.
gentlemen, baseball will be played.
Yes, it will. Well, with that, this is Tommy the K along with Ward Davis Signing off, episode 2, Baseball Hell, a Cubs Cardinal podcast. Say goodnight, Davis.
Good night, Davis.